Good evening, everyone. At this time, I'll call to order the regular scheduled committee meeting for the Village of Midlothian, Wednesday, October 19th, 2022 at 7 p.m. Roll call, please. Clerk Moscow.
Trustee Burbett?
Here.
Trustee Caveney? Trustee Crowley?
Here.
Trustee Hilly?
Here.
Trustee Johnson? Trustee Killily?
Here.
Mayor Lewis?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Where'd she go?
Yes, sir.
All right. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's move right into public comment. Is there any public comment tonight? Yes, Fred.
Go for it.
Basically, here to get educated.
Uh-oh.
145, 13, I complained about this before. The guy has not only one box truck, but two box trucks and a trailer. He has a double lot. The guy is servicing whatever he does. I don't know, landscaping, whatever the heck he does. But none of the trucks are marked with his name on it. He doesn't even have the empty weight on it. I don't understand if that's permissible in this village or not. The two big box trucks, it's there every morning. They're there right now when I pass by. The guy's doing some kind of work out of the trucks, wherever he goes. I didn't think that was a business district, is it?
So you're asking, is he permitted to park them there? Or, I'm not sure of your question.
I'm not too sure anymore either.
Are the trucks in his driveway behind the house line?
They're inside the sidewalk, correct. But he doesn't have empty weight marks on it. I thought the DMV was supposed to have at least that. He has no logo on there. I mean, it's not like John's Repair Shop or John's trucking company. It's not marked at all. Neither truck. No name on it, so if he had an accident and he just kept on going, it's going to be just one big white truck. I mean, that's what you turn in, hit and run.
So legally, he's only required to plate it. I don't believe anybody's required to put a logo if they don't advertise the business.
Those commercial vehicles, identifiable vehicles.
No.
Pardon me?
By the registration.
So the question.
Or if it's carrying a hazardous material, it has to identify what
Right.
hazardous material it is.
I appreciate that, I understand that. But my point is it permissible to be running a business out of there? But that's what he's doing. Is there any way that can be looked into or not been looked into, or?
Well, our business, or building, well, I don't want to speak on behalf of the building department, but if you need a license for a business out of his home, if he's having a landscaping business and he uses those vehicles to facilitate his business, no, he wouldn't need a license for that.
And you're not allowed to do any, is he doing repairs on these things? You mentioned something about doing repairs on the vehicles, or no?
No,
Oh, okay.
they're on the road. One of them was an old Forest up at McDonald's, but I don't think he was working there. He was getting a hamburger or coffee or whatever. But I just don't understand everybody's parking their trucks. These are big trucks. We're not talking a pickup truck. We're talking a box truck, about 1.5 ton, 2 ton.
As long as it's in his driveway behind the house line, he's permitted to park it there.
That's
Because
unreal.
I learned recently it has to be on an improved space if he's gonna put it into the backyard. Other than that, he would be legal to park it then. The gentleman who had the actual semi, I don't know if he's continuing to park there, but he was cited one night that it was parked there. That was obvious that he did have it there overnight. So,
I don't see, excuse me, I'm sorry.
you haven't seen it?
I seen it last week, probably was there just for 24 hours, because the next day it was gone. It was there in the evening and it was gone.
So-
And I haven't seen it now. See, I go by there all the time.
Yeah.
So
So he was cited the one time, and if they did see there where it's obviously there overnight, you see cited each and every time. So we did take care of that, but
Okay, but this villager, if he's running a business out there, he could have big trucks like that just parked in the yard. See, I know that property real well. Mr. Westboy owned it many, many years ago. His name was Westboy. And he used to run pork to South Bend, just for information. And back in the days, I used to ride with him, load the pork and unload it wherever he wanted it. two big box trucks. When you go down the street, it looks like Rocky's Rockets over there.
Is it 14513, what?
Turner.
Turner. Chief, can you look?
Yes, sir.
All right, anything else, sir?
No, I'll find something, I'm sure of that. At least I entertain you anyway, I hope so. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chief. Thank you.
Gene?
Sure. The beautification committee has a meeting tomorrow night at 7:15. We're gonna be talking about Christmas, my favorite holiday. So hopefully we'll have people come and give their ideas and everything. So that's it. Oh, we're doing our fundraiser and we have some very generous businesses in the village. That's it.
Thank you, ma'am. Rich? Okay. Then I will close the floor to public comment and move on to trustee business. Trustee Burbank.
I have nothing tonight, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Trustee Hilly.
I had just a couple things now that we're changing seasons. Last yard waste pickup is going to be November 28th. Branch pickup is underway in the southwest quadrant this week through Friday. And then branch pickup for the northwest quadrant starts Monday, 10/24. And as a friendly reminder to everybody not to rake your leaves into the street, causes problems with our drainage systems.
November 29th.
No-
It's Tuesday.
Oh, sorry, 29th. That's a typo. Is the last yard waste pickup. November 29th.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Trustee Cavey.
I have one item, Mayor. The building department has inquired if they would like to purchase a drone to do some inspections in town, particularly roof inspections, since our village insurance prohibits our employees from climbing up a ladder and going onto roofs. They would like to purchase a drone. I'm told that a decent drone can be purchased for around $300, and there might be some training involved. Interim Superintendent Mark Surf is going to look into the cost and get back to me on it. But he feels that it's pretty important because right now, we have roofers sending us photographs of, roofs go on in layers, in sections. And so we ask for photographs. And I would say 90% of them are very compliant with it, but there are some roofs that are a little trickier than others. And he just feels it would behoove the village and behoove the department if they could have that equipment to get their inspections done. And particularly on,
I think they might have
commercial
to be
roofs.
licensed.
yeah, I know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, just so you
So
know,
he-
someone
yeah,
would have
he's
to
go-
go through a
Right,
licensing process.
Right, he's going to
Okay.
look into the training. I believe it's FAA training they have to go through.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, he's going to look into that.
speaking with the dispatch center, and they may be providing each municipality through the surcharge monies that we have.
Mhm.
They're like $25,000 actual good drones. that
Okay,
cover.
we weren't looking to spend that much, believe me. We
They're
were
gonna-
looking to spend under
But
500.
it's gonna be
So-
multifaceted for
Uh-huh.
Police,
Fire.
fire, building, things like that.
Okay.
And you'll be able to use your drone and if they're paying for it out of their funds.
Perfect.
But there is significant training involved,
Correct.
policies involved.
Correct.
Any notifications need to be made to the FAA when you are going to
Mhm.
fly it and put it up.
I thought it was pretty considerable
Yeah, so-
when we talked about it last
We
time.
were looking to have certain individuals from the village, if we were gonna do it through Kelcom,
Mhm.
the licensed pilots or what
Right.
they call them. So if you want to have them get with me on that and maybe.
Okay. Do all drone operators, even if it's just a little small dinky one, have to be FAA certified or only certain size drones?
So certain size drones, but I believe there might be some restrictions if we're a municipality that we have to be licensed regardless.
Yeah.
Right.
Utilize them for certain things
Mhm.
because certain things would be considered invasion of privacy, just to be flying over certain properties and whatnot. You'd have to have reasons to be doing it.
Mhm.
I don't think you'd be able to fly over a backyard to determine, if there's violations back there or
Right.
anything like that. So there's going to be significant training and policies
Mhm.
involved if
Mhm.
we go through with the program, but I'm actually looking at the same thing right now.
Great. And do you have any idea what the timeline would be for Calcom to dispense these?
So they want to pedal to the metal on it, but I'm a little more, I want to research it, you know, find out.
But they're ready right now to dispense them. It's not
They've already purchased theirs, and they have a gentleman who's already been training with it. and-
Okay. I mean, this is not like a year-long, a year-away process is what I mean.
The licensing might be significant though, like to get licensed to use it,
Sure.
it might take you a year. Because when we talked about it
So
years
they actually
ago.
have, I forget what his exact title is over there, but he's able to train individuals
Got it.
to take the test, and once you take the test and pass, then you're a certified drone operator or pilot.
Okay.
Tom, you had any legal issues with this? Like you said something about privacy or privacy?
I think there's going to be a difference between the police department using it and the building department. Obviously, the police department has criminal ramifications, whereas the building department is going to be for administrative inspections, which are not really considered a search. So, yes, the chief is right. For a municipality to use it, depending upon what we're using it for, the standards of what we can and cannot do are going to change between the police department and the building department.
And one of the big things is airspace, what elevations you're going, if you're entering certain elevations, then you 100% can be. From what I've learned throughout the early processes, there's a lot of municipalities running these programs that are in violation of a lot of the laws out there right now.
Well, we are certainly not looking to be in violation of anything.
And you said Calcom has policies drawn up?
So they don't have the policies. That was one of the things that I was looking into, because I was, you know, one of the big things is who's going to be the pilot, what type of compensation are we giving these individuals, what type of training is involved, you know, is this going to be an on-call person, or are we training up operators to where we can get this thing up in the air the second it's needed? So to me, for our purposes, not necessarily just building, there's a lot more thought that needs to be put into it, and being that we'd be one of the first municipalities to run a program where we're FAA licensed pilots, or what they call them. I'd like to research a little bit more to get actual policies and procedures in place, and make sure we're doing it correctly before we start flying these things.
Which is a great segue into one of our agenda items this evening.
Didn't, when the diner and the meat market burned down, didn't Orland come and bring their
Yeah, we've
drone?
been dealing with the drone for about 5 years now, Lawrence has drone.
Uh-huh.
And they have a pilot operator comes out, he uses the prairie fires and the Midlothian Meadows. We had 2 different fires, one at the same time, he was able to locate and find them, breakfast.
Oh,
They
okay.
ended up at the fire at the meat market too. So he comes around, he's available to different municipalities in the district or something for that.
Okay,
That's only if it's requested, if he's available.
okay.
Okay. More to come.
And that's all I have for right now.
Thank you, ma'am. Trustee Kilby.
Thank you, Mayor. Last week, the board created the Office of Village Finance Director by ordinance, by amending an ordinance. And tonight, we'd like to get authorization or approval to make an offer to a very highly qualified individual to fill that office. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the hiring of a village finance director.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please. Clerk Moskowitz.
Trustee Killy.
Aye.
Trustee Hilly.
Aye.
Trustee Burbeck.
Aye.
Trustee Kaveny.
Aye.
Trustee Crowley.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Last Wednesday, there was a meeting of the South Suburban Land Bank and Development Authority. And just a couple quick updates would be that they're really moving to modernize their processes and to make themselves sustainable. In particular, they're working with the Village of Harvey on properties that were acquired from the Cook County Land Bank that were in tax default. Some 480 properties they're going to be dealing with over 3 years, and they hope to create a good revenue stream, because right now, there isn't a lot of properties coming available to them, either commercial or residential. They're doing well this year, but they're looking towards the future, making sure that everything is going to be sustainable for the land bank. One thing they are doing is when a property is in the investigation for abandonment process, sometimes it takes a long time for some municipalities to get back to the land bank with the proper data and proof that the property does qualify for abandonment. And so what the land bank is going to do is contract with a third-party building inspector who will go out and get that information on the property quickly so it can go through the pipeline a little bit quicker. It does bypass the building departments, each individual building department, but it is going to make things a little easier, and they are going to be able to deal directly with a one person, one contact to make sure they have all the proof and all the pictures and everything, and the attorneys are satisfied with that. So that's a change. That's going to be a change soon in their process. And one last thing is, if you read the Tribune this morning, and it sort of scared the heck out of you, if you're a municipality that has properties that are in tax delinquency. Because believe it or not, a lot of these properties are being, the investors are hedge funds. And what they do is they buy tax delinquent properties, buy the taxes, hang on to it. If it isn't redeemed, many of them, well, the hedge funds in particular are very good at finding properties that have some little typo or some little miscalculation on the taxes. No matter how minute it is, they file for a property bought in error, sale in error. And not only that, but
What's the benefit of them doing that?
54% interest.
They get to earn 54%?
54% interest for
From
the whole,
whom? From whom?
from Cook County. Oh, no, I'm sorry, from the municipality. One town that's just to the east of us, just recently had to refund $3.4 million worth of taxes because they had quite a few delinquent properties, and 95% of properties that are bought, the taxes are bought, are never redeemed, 95%. So the hedge funds are jumping on this whole thing, and we are one of the few states that...
Why does the state law allow them to recoup 54%?
Maria Pappas brought this up. Maria Pappas looked at her sheet and said, what's happening here? And she brought this up. She said, one, most states don't allow private investors to buy tax delinquent properties. It's only municipalities and land banks, somebody like a governmental agency, very few do. And we're one of 3 or 4 states that do it. So, our liability...
But our state allows 54%
Yes.
interest?
Yes.
Why?
Well, that's got to change. So I would urge us to jump. I'm sure there's going to be a bandwagon here somewhere.
But this is the part I'm not understanding. Why is the municipality responsible? The municipality doesn't calculate the taxes. We're not getting taxes.
But they got the money for it.
They got the money for what?
When it's redeemed, when the taxes are bought, the money goes to the municipality. It doesn't go to Cook County. It goes to...
Not all of it. It gets
Only
spread
our
amongst
portion.
amongst
yeah.
all the taxing bodies.
Yes.
Why is the municipality only
All of them
responsible?
have to read, all of them. When I was talking about the one town, it's all in aggregate what it was. For the schools, either the park district, if they have one, or the municipality, fire protection district, whatever it might be. So, we have to, I'm sure there's going to be a bandwagon here somewhere. We have to jump on the bandwagon with everybody else and say, hey, this has got to stop. And there's really no reason for private investors to be buying properties.
Did you happen to reach out to the Illinois Municipal League to
Or South Suburban Mayors and Managers?
what's his name?
Brad, yeah, I know.
Because he's really good about responding and telling you what their efforts are. He might be able to give you
The
some.
law needs to be changed. I'm looking it up right now.
That they usually,
Let me read an excerpt from Cook County Treasurer Maria Pappas' office. I got it today.
This is it, yeah.
Taxpayers pay property owners delinquent taxes aiming to make money when the taxpayer repays the debt at steep interest rates. The tax buyer gets a lien on the property on which he or she paid the taxes. That lien allows the tax buyer to take properties if taxpayers don't pay their debt within a specific time period. But these investors usually do not want to take possession of the property. They have an out. Illinois' broad and forgiving sale in error statute that allows the tax buyers to avoid taking the property and instead get back their investment, often with interest. Many states have policies that allow tax buyers to get repaid when the government has sold a property it shouldn't have, including when the property is government-owned, which is what Trustee Kelly's talking about, or when the taxpayer made good on their debt before the sale. I don't see the part where the municipality would have to pay it back unless the municipality owned that property. That's the only part.
Well,
I don't see.
if you looked at the whole Tribune article,
Oh,
two towns to the east of us got killed. Because because they collected the taxes, it comes all together, and they collected those taxes, all the governmental units.
Why
So-
does the taxes all come together? If somebody goes to the county and they pay their tax bill,
Yeah.
the county's responsible for remitting checks to the library district,
Right.
the
No,
municipality, the
I'm just saying,
schools.
all of them have to pay it back. Everybody
Oh.
that got money has to pay it back.
when the tax sale is undone
Right,
due to a sale in error,
right.
most of the money paid to the tax buyer comes from the revenue of the local governments. It's coming
Right.
from the county, but that's our money.
Right.
I mean, they share it with us.
County's
so.
just a conduit.
Especially harming cash-strapped. Treasury research team survey. Basically, she's saying that Illinois needs to change this law to require tax buyers to prove an error was material to the tax sale
Right.
and that they were financially harmed. This would prevent them from profiting from frivolous mistakes.
Right. Really
It's scary.
what she wants is to eliminate private,
Yeah.
let Cook County Land Bank, South Suburban Land Bank, there's 8 land banks in Illinois, and they could handle this, or the municipality could handle it much better than what's that. One tax buyer bought a expressway, and then they came back and said, well, we didn't realize it was an expressway.
Well, that's their own fault.
The judge in that one said, you're not getting any interest, but they got their money back.
Well, that's fine to give them their money back, but even if they buy a property, if they decide that they don't want it anymore, they shouldn't get interest.
That's not how, they're buying it specifically to make money. It's a
Right.
But if
loophole.
it's their decision to
It's-
not
that's-
want it anymore.
It's not buyer beware, it's a
No,
sale in error.
They're looking for properties that a mistake was made.
Right, that's all they're doing.
all they're
Ideally,
doing.
when the statute was passed, there was supposed to be one of two results when someone was arrear in their taxes and they were bought. One, the tax buyer would get their money back with 18% interest.
Right.
And consider it a good investment. Or two, the tax buyer would take the property because of its value, and they would be compensated that way because the property was worth more than their investment. What has developed over decades is that it's being used as an investment plan strategy that can't lose. Either I get the 18% or I get a quality property. But it's being used to hedge against both, which is that I don't want the property, so now I can file a certificate in error and get out of it. I don't think that's the way certificate of errors were intended to be.
Right. The street is misspelled or something, they know it.
Some of the frivolous reasons that Treasurer Pappas has found is that tax buyers can get their money back with interest if a house was listed as made of stucco when it was actually made of brick. A 2-story commercial building was listed as having 0 square feet of space, or a home was listed as not having an air conditioner when it did. They can use those reasons, and there's many, many more, to get out of it and
That's
get their money
absurd.
back with interest.
Right.
Absurd.
You're exactly right. These investors are jumping on this.
Yeah.
And it's the certificate in error leniency that allows them to get away with a bad investment, which is that they never get their 18% because the taxes weren't redeemed, excuse me, or taxes weren't paid. But rather than what their remedy is supposed to be, now they get the property and now they have to rehab it and pay the taxes. They get out of it, which is not contemplated by municipalities or government officials to do
Aren't
that.
tax buyers still required to do some sort of due diligence themselves on the property they're buying?
That is what they're supposed to do, and I think, to Trustee Achilles' position, is that now the courts and now state officials and county officials are starting to say, hey, we have to start looking at these these certificates in error, because they're gibberish, and all you're doing is you're allowing them an insurance policy if they don't get a valuable property and if they don't get their money back. And that's kind of the whole reason why you put them up for sale, is so someone will take responsibility, pay the taxes, fix up the property, or the homeowner will pay that investor off for the taxes. Not that the tax investor becomes a tax scofflaw himself.
Right. But if the investor is only entitled to earn 18%, let's say the homeowner comes and pays the taxes, then the tax buyer gets his investment plus 18% back. Why in this case were these tax buyers able to get 54%?
3 years, 18% each year.
So, yes.
So, I mean, somehow we have to light a fire here, because we have properties that are tax delinquent.
Well, Don, can we rely on you to contact the South Suburban mayors and managers
Yes.
and
Yes.
IMRF?
Yes.
No, IML.
Right.
IML and also-
Sorry,
Also-
IML.
Don't connect IMRF.
Any of the other initials that we need to call, just call
Yes,
them.
fine,
For the love of God,
fine.
please don't ask them for money.
I'll talk to Brad at IML and.
Yeah, because he was
and
really good in responding to.
Brad
with-
Cole or
Cole,
something? Yeah.
yes. And because he might be able to tell you what they're
Right. We gotta find some.
lobbying for.
Find some legislator who's gonna sponsor a
Right.
bill. Okay, and that's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. I will also reach out to our state rep. Okay, trustee Crowley.
Thank you, sir. I have a few things this evening. First on my agenda is discussion to purchase our annual UTM training rounds and 5 conversion kits. This is a budgeted item, and I do have the estimate on the agenda not to exceed $3,386.09. Does anybody have any questions?
What does UTM stand for?
Ultimate Training Munition,
Ultimate Training Munition.
not ammunition, munition.
Okay.
What's the difference between ammunition and munition?
There.
They can actually shoot them at each other and they just hurt, they don't.
Yeah.
Munitions won't kill you, they just hurt you?
So it's for the
Okay.
officers to use, it's almost like.
It's a training.
Paintball, but it's.
Got it. Oh, training stuff.
Still
Beautiful.
hurts.
Yeah, it hurts.
Is there a second?
I'm not.
That wasn't a
this is
motion.
just discussion.
This is just discussion.
If nobody has any questions, I'd like to add it to the consent agenda for next week. Next, this is also up for discussion. The police department for a number of years has been looking at a digital software to help keep, maintain, and establish our policies in connection with the changing laws and things like that. The last time we looked at it, the price of the companies that were out there were excessive for us. We really couldn't justify the tens of thousands of dollars every year. This year, however, Chief Delaney worked with our insurance carrier, and we have found this company, Power DMS, that will provide the service. And our insurance company, because they feel it's such a good investment to limit our liabilities, has agreed to pick up the initial cost of the first year, and we would just be responsible for the maintenance every year thereafter. I do have the quote on the agenda. The term total would be $7,723.89.
And that's what the village is paying, or is that's what the insurance company's paying?
That will be the first year that the insurance company pays. Part part of these fees will fall off after that because we don't need them, like training, won't we have it? So I think the.
Onboarding.
The yearly fee is about 59, just almost $6,000. That's the subscription fee. This, we won't have the setup or the power training, but the insurance company our insurance carrier has agreed to cover the first cost, which is the highest.
Nice. And so this software will give us updates on what current laws are?
It'll update it'll create the policies. It'll actually be the policy that we can modify for Midlothian. So
Great.
like, a policy to paint the wall will have fillable, everything, it'll fill in Midlothian, and it'll have the general policy, and then the police department could curtail it or but.
Adjust as
We
Yeah.
do have all the updated new ones.
Yeah.
That's already vetted and usually certified type ones.
And I'm gonna guess they have a drone one.
The insurance company did talk about, even though they haven't given us an exact number yet, paying a percentage of the cost going forward in year 2 and so on, but they haven't given a hard number for what portion they'll cover going forward.
Got it. Very good.
Nobody else has any questions? I'd like to put that on the agenda for approval next week, consent agenda.
Question is that just for the police department or the whole village?
Just for the police department, they do, it's general policies and policy for law enforcement.
And that's what this firm is,
That's what they do, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if they have a module for other, I don't know if they do or don't.
well, that might be something to look at, considering that we're,
Can you do me a favor? Can we send this to Steve and Joe? Yeah, because I don't think anybody else has general policies.
I think he's speaking in terms of Village Hall. Is that what you're working?
Oh, I was thinking you were talking about like fire department general orders.
well, I'm talking about that we were discussing having a HR consultant, and I wonder if this would, if there's something they have that is in play here that we should look at.
They
Maybe we
probably
can-
wouldn't deal with police department
Yeah.
regulations,
Right.
policies, stuff like that.
Well, you know what, why don't we do this? When we get the HR person on, we can have them look at it and see if it's something that they can expand on. How's that?
Yeah, and there's other companies too. I mean, there's several different.
Well, there's a lot of companies. This one though, for the price, for under $6,000 a year, that's the best we've seen.
Yeah.
I mean, the one was like $34,000 a year.
Yeah, some of them are very,
Really expensive.
really expensive.
The good thing about them was we have the relationship with them because we sit on a policy task force with them, LLRMI, the insurance company, the attorneys. We all sit with chiefs that are on the policy task force, we collaborate and look at some of the new laws that came out, and we help generate some of these policies that are already vetted, and you can find on the Illinois Chiefs Police website as well. But the good part is because they have a relationship with the insurance company, that's why we're getting for these costs and why they're willing to pick it up in the first year.
Could you add that to the consent agenda for next week, Maria? Thank you. Next, the discussion of our 2023 health renewal rates. I have 2 portions to this. The first one is the current employee increase. I think I briefly discussed it last week. We did get an email saying that they were able to go back and negotiate with Blue Cross and Blue Shield to reduce the increase down to from 7.25% down to 5%, which is still better than the national average. Over the last 3 years, the village has managed through all of the different things that we've done to keep it under a 1% increase, which is huge. But, we're at pretty much at the point, this is where it's at. I sent everybody the links. Did anybody have any questions?
I'm just curious, how come every year Aetna, Cigna, and Humana always decline?
Because we're not big enough to be competitive.
Most of them can't compete with Blue Cross Blue Shield and also the number of employees, which you'll talk about in the ambulance.
Yes, that's my second.
Yeah.
So
When you send this again, can you make sure the print's a little bit smaller?
I'm gonna, You mean the flyer they designed? I will.
Oh, my
I
God.
had to blow it up on my.
With contacts and
I
glasses,
know.
I can't even read
I'm with
it.
you. I'm with you. I think they do that deliberately.
Sheesh.
And the second portion of the healthcare is our Amwins retiree insurance. I sent an email to the board earlier in the week regarding some misinformation that we received. I have been in communication with Horton since then, and the quote that they sent us from another company was not comparing the same
Apples to apples.
apples to apples. So they are at, I believe it is, 5% too? I believe
4.1.
4.1% increase for our Amwins insurance, and that was the best that they could do. So, unless anybody has any questions about that, we will be keeping it, all the insurance exactly the same for 2023.
No.
And, no?
Is it now, not no?
Hmm?
Can I
Oh.
make a statement?
Oh,
Oh,
I wasn't done, but go ahead.
No, Mayor, you may not speak.
Horton did allude to the fact that as our retirees' numbers increase, that we may be able to move the retirement.
Yes, to
Healthcare.
Blue Cross and Blue Shield. So
Right.
what, there's a couple of different options, and I don't really know going forward how this will all play out, but apparently, for some reason Maggie said in 2026, we will be able to negotiate different carriers, and that will probably allow us to pull in different quotes and things like this. I'm not quite sure why.
The number of retirees.
Is that-
We'll
is that
we'll
what-
meet the quota
Quote,
for the
quota.
other companies.
Okay. I wasn't quite sure what she was saying with that.
And then
Over 100.
over.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that's the magic number, and we've done very well considering we're not 100 plus, but their idea is to move the retirees in with Blue Cross
And-
and make the number
Larger.
larger.
And then the other comment I wanted to make is that the other option for the healthcare was going to United Healthcare, and that would have been almost a 14% increase, so
Well,
I
there
think
was,
5% is
oh, you mean for the healthcare or for Amwins?
healthcare.
Healthcare.
Yes, yes. And at that time, they did tell us 7 3/4 or something like that, but now, we did ask them to go back, we did make some adjustments to how some things were coded, and we did have them talk to Blue Cross, and they did bring it down from the 7 3/4 to 5% for the exact same coverage.
Pretty good.
I don't think we're gonna get any better. This year, we are, our policy going forward is gonna be, we are gonna have active enrollments every year. After working with Horton for the last few months, we've decided that an active enrollment is better for both the employees and the village. It gives them, people time to come in and have conversations and go over plans and make wise decisions. And it also protects the village in the sense that, you're updating things regularly. A passive enrollment just pretty much means everything's going to stay the same. Where an active enrollment, you have to come in, you have to, declare who your dependents are, you have to pick your which insurance plan you want, so people are constantly having to think about it. So going forward, we will be moving to a active insurance enrollment every year. Anybody have any questions on that?
No, just wanted to thank you and the committee for continuing to work hard on this.
Oh, thank you, sir. If we could have that on the agenda for approval next week? Okay. Sorry. Lost my agenda. Okay, next, I have, I'm gonna save that for last. Oh, I have, I'll say that too, okay. Foreclosed and vacant property ordinance revision. Trustee Kavanagh and I have talked about this. I sent an email to Attorney Valadez and the police department and the building department. We are looking to upgrade our vacant and foreclosed property ordinance to be more stringent on safety concerns and things like that to make sure that these properties are, we do everything we can to force property owners to keep track of their vacant properties. So that is in the works. Attorney Valdez, you think you'll have something in a couple weeks?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe our next
Yeah,
committee meeting?
Specifically, I'm going to be looking into the requirements that are proposed and whether there's any legal issues with regard to those for homeowners' rights.
So, don't forget, these are foreclosed, so they're owned by the bank, or they're rental properties,
Sure.
okay? Usually, there might be a few instances of difference, but for the most part. Constant Contact, that is the subscriber email that we are participating in. I've reached out to all the department heads and asked them to start getting information together and for volunteers to help out with putting the email together. I'd like to let the residents know, please sign up for the, please create a login on the village website where you register your email. We will also start having some registration, click here to register for our email or our e-alerts. This is how we're going to try and get better communication with our residents, and we're hoping to have at least to start out one email a month going out that will talk about the activities that happened that month and what's going on in the future. I did send to the department heads and to the board an example. Tinley Park uses this, and I sent out an example of what they send out. It's very interactive. You can click on links, you can give information. So please, if everybody else could talk to their department heads and make sure we're having people work on that, because I think I gave a hard date of next Thursday for the information. We don't have anybody currently working at the village who is a professional in marketing or public relations or newsletters. So I hope the residents are patient. There's probably going to be typos, and it's probably going to be a little off-center the first couple times. If it works well, that's something we will have to long-term figure out who's going to actually put this together every month. But for right now, I think we should at least get a couple newsletters out, let the residents start giving us some feedback, and then if it's something that the community wants to keep doing, we're going to have to decide how we get that done, because it's going to need to be somebody's full-time job. Or job in their job description, not someone volunteering and taking time out of their day or elected officials doing it. So I just wanted to kind of bring that up, but please start watching and make sure you're logged in and make sure your email address is registered either on the village website or with what we put up there to be able to register for the newsletter, because that's how it'll be sent out. And if anybody wants hard copies, we'll certainly have hard copies here that are available, or residents, we can print them out and send them to the residents if someone would like one mailed to them, but they would have to let us know. What else do I have? Well, I guess I'll go right into the best part of tonight's meeting. A huge thank you to Chief Delaney and the police department. A few months ago, the village board came and approved the police department entering into an agreement to hire a grant writer to write a grant to fill 3 positions in the police department for 3 years. On the low side, this grant could have equaled about $750,000 over 3 years when you figure cost of training and salary and benefits and that. I'm pleased to announce we were awarded the full grant. So based on the work that Chief Delaney did with, and the police department with the grant writer, we did get the award. It's huge for the village, it's huge savings, and it puts additional manpower on the streets. So I'm very proud of that, and my second part to that is I did talk to the person who wrote the grant and asked them to send us some literature, which I did get this morning. I'll be sharing with the board this evening. The amount of money that these kind of grants that we would not necessarily be, there's only, I believe there was only 5 municipalities in Illinois that got it, if I counted correctly. I sent you guys the link. I really think that if we want to be competitive with grants and we want to have, this grant cost us $5,000. That's what it cost the village to have the grant writer. We paid the one-time fee of $5,000, and we stand to gain $750,000. It's a pretty good investment and a pretty good return on your investment. After I send this information out to the board, I'd like to seriously consider, it was very reasonable that we could do it for police only, police and fire, or the whole village. And they do help out. One of the things he was telling me was the lead service lines. That loan, they write tons of those loans for people. An interesting fact that I found out during this too is that Bremen was, in the course of us doing this loan, I'm not sure who it was at the police department, if it was our deputy chief or whoever, was having a conversation and referred them to Bremen High School, who wound up applying through this grant company for a loan in connection, different but not, and they wound up getting it, and I believe they're going to be awarded $500,000 as well. So, things like that just seem to kind of, propel. So I'd really like to start having that discussion with the village board that it does make sense if we can get these kind of grants that we probably wouldn't have been able to do on our own. That, if we're spending, I think to have it covered for the whole village, it was under $25,000 a year. And then how they explained it to me is we would do a wish list and come up with like a criteria of what our main needs are, and we would tell them grants we wanted them to apply for, and they would also, when something comes up that's on our wish list and they hear about it, they would let us know as well. And then they would be responsible for the applying for the grant, and then there is a mechanism if we wanted them to actually manage it. So, I think
There was 11 in Illinois, by the way.
11?
Yeah. I'm very familiar with one of the other towns.
Really?
Yes,
Did you guys get it too?
yes.
So yeah, did you guys, I was shocked. Was it 11? I thought it was 7, 6 or 7. No? Okay.
1, 2, 3.
It was $149 million in total that they were giving out, so it was a pretty big
You know,
grant.
that program was started in 1994 by then President Clinton.
Really? I did
Yes,
not know that.
I was hired under that grant.
Really?
Yes.
Money well spent?
Sure.
Would you like to be rehired on that?
Yeah. Short time.
Investment.
Short time.
Can we state where the money is actually coming from? I don't have that.
The COPS, U.S.
Cops,
Department of
yeah,
Justice COPS grant.
COPS grant. Yeah. I think it's all in the email.
I couldn't find the email.
I
I'm sure you did. I couldn't find it.
I did send it to the group, so.
That's what I'm
Oh.
looking at.
Anyway, that's really all I had this evening, other than I will be sending this grant information out, and over the next few weeks, I'd really like to talk about the village moving forward and engaging, if not this grant company, if somebody has another one, but they seem to be pretty proven right now, in their success, and have gotten us some money, and I think it's definitely money well spent.
Absolutely. Thank you.
That's all I have this evening.
Thank you, ma'am. Attorney Valdez.
Okay, the only item I have for public session is the review and final sign-off of the revision to the noise ordinance. To refresh the board's memory, our current ordinance does not define the level of noise and has a 10 o'clock to 8 o'clock time limit prohibiting excessive noise. The ordinance is several decades old. The result of that is that in modern noise enforcement ordinances in municipalities, typically a decibel reading is what is used to make a determination as to whether a property owner is exceeding the ordinance. And so at this point, the original ordinance as proposed was set at 65 decibels, which for reference would be if a landowner was on the property line outside of your bedroom window and speaking at the level of normal conversation as I am now, that would be a violation. It has been suggested that maybe that's a little bit too stringent and that it would cause multiple citations for marginal noise. But it's up to the board to decide what level that would be. 75 decibels would be significantly below a lawnmower, which is somewhere around 80 decibels, 85 decibels. It is generally perceived in most municipalities 75, 60, 75, 70, 65 is the standard set. So to the board's benefit, is my opinion that 75 decibels is clearly a level that everyone would agree is a violation. Anything below that, it's going to be arguable. We certainly don't want to be writing people up because they're sitting in their backyard on a warm summer night, enjoying a cocktail with adults and not, having a party or anything obnoxious. In addition to that, the copy of the ordinance that you have has 2 times. The numerical time says 10 o'clock and the written time says 11. In the final ordinance, that will be made 11 o'clock.
Right, 11?
11 o'clock. So essentially,
I thought we said 10.
oh, I'm sorry, other way around. I apologize.
Yeah,
Other way
right.
around. It says 11 and 10, but the new ordinance will say 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
And given the extension from 65 decibel level to 75 decibel level, I think that is a fair trade-off.
And this still gives, just to kind of clarify, this still gives the authority to our law enforcement officers that if something is clearly an obnoxious sound, even if it doesn't reach that, if it's still a nuisance, they would be able to enforce it.
Yes,
correct?
and as a matter of fact, what's unique to our ordinance now is that we added a loud gathering noise and litter abatement. And while litter is not considered sound, the things that go along with parties that get out of hand are the litter and the movement and the talking and the parking and all of that stuff. Now, all these things tend to lead to noise violations, and so we've put them in there in section 6-5-3, loud gathering, noise, litter abatement. And essentially, it's a description of what happens at a party when it's spilled out of the owner's property and onto the streets.
And Nick, this, I think this is a really good start for like the residential areas. At some point though, I do think we need to move further with this and create a subsection that addresses commercial.
Well,
Because
There
we
is.
do have a commercial district that I think, there may be a little bit of.
It's adjacent to a residential
yeah,
district.
and,
so-
and that's actually, to that point, I did not put a separate commercial
Right.
provision because typically the commercial provisions are more lenient in terms of time and decibel level. But as we all know, Midlothian, you're going to be pretty hard pressed to find any commercial or industrial area that isn't well within the range of someone's house.
Right.
That's just the nature of our town.
So if we were going to enforce this against the residential community and the business community, does that mean like bars and restaurants that are adjacent to residential areas, they could not have a band outside beyond 10 p.m.?
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. My concern is you had referenced the 75 decibels or whatever. Noise that exceeds 75 decibels is a violation. But you had also mentioned if there was noise under that, but it was deemed a nuisance, it's still a violation.
There's other
My-
noises.
Types of noises.
Exactly.
Right, but my concern is if those other types of noises are deemed, what's the word?
A nuisance?
A nuisance, thank you, but they don't exceed 75 decibels, could that be,
I think
Could-
it's more for outside of the time constraints, not so
Yeah.
much. I think anybody would be complaining about something under 75 decibels, more so is like at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
Somebody has a band going or something. If it's at 200 decibels or something like that.
well, that's a problem, right?
That's
Yeah.
what we're saying.
No, but, right, but you had mentioned if it was under 75 decibels but considered a nuisance, it would be a violation. My concern is that if the police or building department, was called to go somewhere and they determine, well, this noise is a nuisance, but if it doesn't exceed 75 decibels, then we can't really write a citation
There's
for it.
actually 2 provisions
Yes.
in the ordinance that can result in a violation.
Okay.
Exceeding the 75 decibels and horns, signaling devices, the sounding of horns or signaling device, motorcycles, all the rest of that stuff, which may or may not be over 75. If
Okay.
your car is parked further out in the field and you're laying on the horn and it only gets to 65, we're not going to go down that road. You're beeping on the horn at 2 in the morning, and I don't care how loud it is, that's a nuisance.
Got
And
it.
that's, the language is in the ordinance.
That's the caveat, is not necessarily, you know, it may, again, may not reach that level, but it's at a time or in an area or something that would be, it's repetitive, that would be considered.
And that's fine, I'm not disagreeing with it, my concern was just that someone was gonna argue the point, well, it wasn't 75 decibels. And then, you know, we've gotta,
Correct.
Okay, so I guess I was reading it, and I just assumed, which I probably shouldn't have assumed, but the 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., 8 a.m. doesn't apply to businesses? In other words, if you have a,
It does apply, correct?
it does apply to
The whole-
business, okay.
It applies to
Okay, so in
everybody.
other words, a business that has a band playing outside, they can have it play up until 10 p.m.,
Correct.
and that's fine. Up
Or
at-
some-
or
at
is it fine?
75
I don't
or
know.
At 75 decimals.
Or below 75, yes.
Okay, if it's above that, then school's out anyway,
They
but.
need to turn it down.
Okay, but at 10 PM, they have to stop playing.
construction workers at your house at 7 a.m. doing work?
There's actually something, there's a provision.
There is.
Yeah.
There's a provision in here, no jackhammers, I think it's 7 a.m. or 8
Construction,
7 AM
7 a.m.
to 8 PM.
8 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, this ordinance updates us so that it's not just the level of noise, it's the kind of noise. It gives deference to noises that are common from people living in their homes, enjoying their property. It is prejudiced against noises that have no reason. Horns, parties.
Animals.
A buzzing lawnmower, excuse me, a buzzing malfunctioning.
Singing on the public street? What do you gotta get singing?
All those things that annoy you when you're
I don't
living.
Take the
They have
batteries out of your Mr. Microphone, Mayor.
So, and to Trustee Crowley's point, this is a starting point. I think it'll take us a year, a good summer, a winter, and a spring to find out how it works. If it works, then fine, fantastic, we've solved the problem. If not, we can certainly tweak it just like the liquor license ordinance.
So like for pile drivers and hammers, the operation hours are between 8 p.m., are not allowed between 8 p.m. and 7, so they can only go from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
I like the one about the animal birds at all times,
Yep.
keeping of any animal or bird shut up. You should just stop right there.
That was a funny one, I had to read that twice.
So then if the board doesn't have any further input, the changes to the final noise abatement ordinance will be to clarify that it is in effect from 10 to 8, in which the decibel level will be in effect, and that the decibel level will be changed from 65 decibels to 75 decibels.
You'll have that on the consent agenda for next weekend, for next week?
Yes, that's
Thank you,
the
sir.
board.
Perfect.
Okay,
That's it.
that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. A couple things. Stag High School Music Boosters. I'm a big fan. Ask me every year to promote their Art for the Season Arts and Crafts Festival. It'll be on November 12th and 13th. November 12th from 9 to 4, and November 13th from 10 to 3. Arts and crafts, vendors, lunch and food sampling, raffles and entertainment. I'll read that in the next couple weeks just to keep it in everyone's mind. Also, I just received, I didn't get a chance to get on the agenda, but the renewal for the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, the renewal dues invoice for $558.27. Anyone have an issue with that? Or if not, I will put it on the consent agenda. All right, Maria, can you get that on the consent agenda? You want this back? That's all I have. Clerk Moscow.
I have nothing tonight, sir.
Okay, then at this time, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn to closed session to discuss the collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or the representatives, and to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employee.
I'll make a
Mayor.
motion.
Excuse me, Mayor, does that include what we discussed this
Yeah.
afternoon? Okay, I'll
Right.
second.
Compensation. Compensation is what we.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right, yeah. Any, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we're in closed session, and there will be no further action following closed session.
Thank you, sir.